I'm going to quote Canelo Alvarez here. Says some pretty surprising things. Is it all just hype or is he serious? Says here, we do not rule out the possibility of fighting at 175 pounds. At this moment, we have other things in mind, but the possibility exists. It's a huge challenge, but it's the type of things that I like. I know Kovalev since I was 20 years old, and why not? We could make a fight between us, and I like those challenges. There is the possibility of making that fight. That is what we intend to do this year, and he's talking about becoming unified middleweight champion. If everything is settled, if everything goes well in May, that is what we intend to do this year, to be champions of the 4 organizations. We are on that path. Everything can change. First it is Jacobs and then September. We are happy and focused on the fight on May 4. It's a complicated fight, but it is the fight we want, and hopefully everything goes how we want. So those are the words of Canelo Alvarez, claiming that he would be open to stepping up to 175 pounds and taking on the likes of Sergey Kovalev. A pretty extraordinary claim. Again, is he just saying it for hype or is he serious? How far does Canelo Alvarez's self-belief really extend? Well, after taking down Gennady Golovkin, who is, of course, a fighter from the former Eastern Bloc, as they used to call it, one of the former Soviet countries. Kazakhstan is not actually in Eastern Europe. It's in Central Asia, but it used to be part of the Soviet Union. And Golovkin was this killer. He was this wrecking machine, this destroyer, the guy who everything he touched turned to rubble because he hit that hard, right? Well, Canelo got in there and he wasn't that impressed with this beast from the East, whose punching power was so highly touted. In fact, in the rematch, Canelo took it to him and gave him the Mexican-style fight that he'd been calling for, and particularly his trainer Abel Sanchez had been calling for, and Triple G didn't really want it. So with that experience in mind, with those 2 experiences in mind, perhaps Canelo's thinking, you know what, I don't really believe Kovalev is this devastating, murderous puncher that everybody's making him out to be. Sure, he can punch hard, but I've been in there with one of these other former Soviet guys, and he was built up as this Terminator type figure, but he didn't turn out to be that way in the ring. So maybe I can step up to 175 and do the same to Kovalev. I mean, we've seen Andre Ward beat him. He's getting up there in age, and he also lost to Alida Alvarez first time around. So yeah, I'd like to try my luck with this guy. Maybe Canelo Alvarez's confidence extends that far. Or maybe he's just using it for hype. I don't know. But I would like to see Canelo Alvarez, if he can get past Danny Jacobs, become undisputed at middleweight. If he can complete the set, as it were, and get the WBO belt from Demetrius Andrade. Or maybe Andrade can get the other belts from Canelo. Maybe Danny Jacobs can stop Canelo before Canelo gets to do any of that. But of course, the way it's looking at the moment, Canelo is probably the most likely to become undisputed champion. Danny Jacobs is a fantastic fighter, athletically gifted, but I would say he's not as good a boxer as Canelo. I think Canelo is more skilled. I think Danny Jacobs is definitely taller, rangier. He can move well. In fact, I'd say he moves better than Canelo. But hand speed, they're both fast in terms of hand speed. I think Canelo is a bit more tricky as a boxer. I think Danny Jacobs, he can box, but sometimes Jacobs resorts to using as his athleticism and brute force rather than skills, okay? And sometimes he does that to good effect, but other times, I don't know, I think he can struggle against a good boxer, Danny Jacobs, somebody who knows how to move and use their jab and who's clever and cute. I think Danny Jacobs can have issues with that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we see in the Canelo fight. Danny Jacobs actually having issues with Canelo's skills. Most people, or a lot of people, are probably expecting Canelo to try and walk Danny Jacobs down, but I wouldn't necessarily go along with that. I think Canelo may go back to what we saw in the first Golovkin fight and try and box Danny Jacobs on the back foot. I know it seems counterintuitive given the fact that he's given away so much in height and reach, but I think Danny Jacobs is more susceptible to a slick boxer than he is to a come forward pressure fighter. Yeah, that's just my observation of Danny Jacobs over the years. I think a slick boxer is more of an issue to him. Someone who's going to use counter punching and a good jab, knowing when to punch and when not to punch. Just someone with a very high boxing IQ, I think, is more of an issue for him. And someone who's physically strong with it too, because he's fought people who can box a bit, but they haven't really had the physicality to be able to compete with Jacobs. Because if he's not able to outbox you, Jacobs can impose himself, and he will impose himself on you and win the fight that way. With Canelo Alvarez, although he's not quite as big as Jacobs, he's still a very decent sized middleweight, Canelo Alvarez. He comes into the ring on fight night well over 170 pounds. I mean, for some of his fights, he refused to be weighed on fight night because I think it would have been shocking for people to find out exactly how big he was. So, yeah, I don't think there'll be that much of a difference in terms of body weight between Canelo and Jacobs on fight night. And in terms of the physical strength, I also don't think there'll be that much in it. I think Canelo is very physically strong. We saw that in the Golovkin rematch. He's got tremendous physical strength, being able to push Golovkin back the whole night. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Why did Canelo talk about moving up to 175 and taking on the likes of a Sergey Kovalev? Is it all just hype? Is he just, teasing the boxing fans with something that he knows will never happen? Or does his confidence actually extend that far? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.